Morning, a midpoint, come on up front. Would you clap with me? When I was searching, your love was never far. You made a way to get to me, you were the whisper, leading me to your heart. Forever I belong to you, now I can see clearly, my God, you are for me. You won't let go. Promises of your grace, so I will find a way to you. Now I can see clearly, my God, you are for me. You won't let go. Your love won't let me down, and I know it's true. Yeah, I know that your love is all around. I believe in you, holding on to you. Never fail. I want all of you, you never change. Your love won't let me down. Your love won't let me. All right. Hey, we're gonna do a song that we did back in the day. We wrote this song for you guys specifically. Remember, praise goes up, and then go down with down. Your spirit comes and guides me through the noise. Your comfort's around. When black and white turn green, we know with hope. Your steadfast word remains. voice is loud, our praise goes up, your love came down. Regardless of the here and now, our praise goes up, your love came down. Hands held high, the voice is loud, praise goes up, your love came down. Regardless of the here and now, our praise goes up, your love came down. Your love came down. Your love came down. Your love came down. Our praise goes up one more time. Our praise goes up. Your love came down.
Woo! Good morning, Midpoint. Great to see you. You can take a seat. My name is Greg. If we haven't had a chance to meet yet, hello, hello. How are you guys doing this morning? Oh, come on. How are you doing? There it is. Well, I don't know if you know this, but just a few months ago, we had a new addition to the Midpoint team. We have a Midpoint mascot now. Did you know that? His name is Grayson Marvin Dodrell.
Hey, Grayson. What's up, Bubba?
This is Grayson, and he just wants to be best friends with each and every one of you guys.
Oh,
So, meet your new
Steve,
best friend.
this is probably the cutest baby I've ever seen in my life.
Well, thank you. He is my son.
Oh,
so,
that's
you know,
right. I mean,
like
obviously.
said, I'm
I
just
mean,
kidding.
I think it probably beats every other kid here.
No,
Oh.
no, you guys are great too.
Anyway, Steve, you told me something that happened with Grayson this week.
Yeah,
What happened?
Grayson's been telling us he's just super excited for Winter Peak, and he couldn't wait.
Whoa.
So we took him to Frontier Ranch, and we
You
took
went
some pictures.
all the way?
Yeah, so he was having tons of fun in the game room, and he actually had so much fun that he needed to take a little snooze. He gets
Oh.
tired, so he fell asleep on the ping pong
Oh,
table.
there he is.
Yep, there he is. He fell asleep
at
on that
him.
ping pong table there.
He
and
can
then,
sleep anywhere. You can
yeah,
sleep anywhere.
after the game room, you know, this kid loves to swim, so we went for a little swim in the hot springs pool. And there he is doing a little
Look
swim
at his floaties.
in the
Look
hot
at
springs
him.
pool. And then, you know, he was just like, Dad, I really want to go on the Screamer. And I was like, I don't think you're ready for that. Like, you're probably too short to ride the Screamer. But he's like, he insisted. And so
Right.
we let him ride on the Screamer. And here he
Said
is
it all with his
on
eyes.
the Screamer. Yeah.
Oh,
He is psyched.
look at him.
So psyched for it.
Wow.
So he's just been talking about it, and the one thing he's like, man, I want every student in Midpoint to come to Winter Peak, and I'll probably cry if they don't sign up.
Yeah.
So
You're saying
make
it right
sure that you guys don't make Grayson cry.
Seriously.
And sign up for camp.
Come on.
Because no one wants to see this cute kid cry, right?
No way.
Yeah. So we're 1 month away from camp. So
Exactly.
sign up soon. Invite your friends right now so they can get it on their schedule, because 1 month will pass super quick. So sign up for camp, and don't make Grayson cry.
Yeah. Speaking of crying and some harder things, sometimes in our life we do this thing like we measure up to people. Do you ever do that? Like, I think of this, the Olympics, and oftentimes, you know, they see their score come up after they perform. And sometimes I have that in my head whenever I do something, like, am I measuring up to the people around me? And that's what we're going to talk about today. So with that in mind, would you pray with me? And Matt's going to come up. God, thank you for today. Thank you for Grayson and his excitement for Winter Peak. I pray that today that we would focus in on you and what you say about us so that we can live more fully into who you've created us to be. We pray for Matt. We pray you would anoint him and bless him. In Jesus' name, amen.
Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Matthew Plunkett, and I'm just happy to be here with y'all. Feel free, when we're done with this and you're done with small groups, I dare anyone, let's have a snowball fight. I'll crush you. You're going down. In fact, one of the things, when I was growing up, we didn't have snow in Georgia. And so what I did, I played a lot of basketball. Any basketball players out there? Some of you basketball athletes? Yeah. I loved basketball. I played it all the time. I was on like AAU teams, and it was just a huge part of my life. And if I'm being honest, I really loved playing my brother in basketball because my brother was younger than me and he was shorter than me, and I could just dominate him anytime I wanted to. And some of you have had that. Maybe if you're not a basketball person, you like to play things that you can dominate at, and so you play people who you can dominate. And so I just did it, and it was awesome, and I had a fun time. And, when you get to that place of domination over someone, when you're beating them over and over and over again, if you want them to keep playing, you do that thing where you kind of start letting them win a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just kind of like let them win, like, oh, I can't believe I missed that shot. Oh, and then you come back and beat them in the end, and it's awesome. But the truth is, my brother was that way. When my dad and we were just the opposite, okay? Of course, my dad was bigger than me, he was stronger than me, and he was dominating me in basketball. In fact, I know how there's some adults that, like, let you win at certain things. My dad was not that kind of dad, okay? He crushed me at everything, all right? He beat me from everything from battleship to basketball, all right? He would just keep going and going. He wasn't that, like, kind, dad or whatever that would just let me win. And so he just kept beating me, but then I started to grow up, and I got a little bigger, and I got a little taller. And I'm telling you, I had sort of this weird growth spurt. Some of you may be going through it now, but I had this really awkward growth spurt when, by the time I was 13, I was 6'1", which is the height that I am right now. Okay, literally, I haven't grown since I was 13 years old. So I was like huge when I was 13, and people were like, what in the world? But here was the good part, is that when I was 13 was the first time that I beat my dad in basketball. And it was amazing, and I loved it, and I just kept beating him forever, and I just had like bragging rights for the rest of my life, okay? We would talk a lot of trash to each other about it, of course. Some of you are major trash talkers out there. I mean, even if you're not a verbal trash talker, I know some of you have it in your mind, right? You're looking at someone, you're like, I'm better than they are, I'm better than they are, I'm better than they are. In fact, if anybody wants to challenge me to a basketball game after this, then come on. I guarantee, I think I will beat anybody in here one-on-one. In fact, let me just kind of look out into the crowd. Let me see. I'm dead serious. I'm not trying to, let's go for it. You guys, anybody think they can take me on? If you think, okay, well, let's just see, talk the talk, let's walk the walk, let's do it afterwards, and we'll see how it, I will not, just like my dad, I'm not going to take it easy on you. I'm going to like Shaquille O'Neal gorilla slam right all over you. It's going to be awesome. Some of you are like, that was bad form. Whatever this was, doesn't look like a basketball move. I'm sorry about that. But here's the deal. The deal is all kinds of things in life, whether it's basketball or something else, we compare ourselves with each other. Right? Sometimes we trash talk to try to intimidate our opponents, but there's a lot of comparison that's going on. It's not good enough to be good at something. We have to be the best at something. We got to be better than other people, right? We don't want to just be smart. We want to be smarter, right? We don't just want to be rich. We want to be richer than other people, right? We don't just want to be pretty. We want to be prettier than the other person. We don't just want to be happy, we want to be happier than someone else, okay? And then once that happens, when we start feeling like that we're a little bit smarter than some people, or we're a little bit prettier than some people, or we have a little bit more money than some people, or we're a little bit happier than some people, whatever it is, that doesn't even stop there, right? Because once we get a little bit better at some people, then we want to be the best against anybody, all right? So it goes from smarter to smartest. Right? And it goes from richer to richest. It goes from prettier to prettiest. And it goes from happier to happiest. Right? We don't stop. And quite honestly, it can be exhausting. Right? As we're achieving and trying to have success, and we're working harder and harder and harder to get better at other people. And sometimes we fall short, and it just feels exhausting. Because even if you're at the top on certain things, it always feels like there's somebody better than you, or it feels like someone's coming up behind you, and you're trying to push them down. And next thing you know, we're just trying to see who do we measure up against? Who do we measure up? And it can become exhausting. Now, the flip side, when we don't measure up well, when things aren't going well, many of us just give up, right? We completely quit. Like if we're not good at a certain thing, we're just like, I'm done with that, right? I quit. If I can't be the best, then I'm done. All right, and so what should we do? Like, should we just exhaust ourselves with achievement and working harder and harder and harder? Or should we just quit at certain things? Well, God has a unique approach to this. All right, he has a unique way that I think he can help us through this sort of comparison trap that we're all in. In fact, it's in Ecclesiastes chapter 4, and it's this guy named Solomon talks about it. In fact, I'd love for you to get your Bibles out. If you have your Bibles, it's going to be about like this far into the Bible. It's like right around here. It's a little bit after Psalm and Proverbs, if you have that. If you don't have a physical Bible, then just get your phone out and get onto the Bible app. And if you have the Bible app, especially if you have the YouVersion app, you can look for me on there and look for Matthew Plunkett and type it in, and you can follow me and see some of the stuff that I do. Or we also have a Midpoint group page that's on there as well that you can like that and follow that on there. That'll help you. I'm going to be reading out of the New Living Translation. All right, so if you're on the Bible app, you can just change it to the New Living Translation. And like I said, I'm in Ecclesiastes, just after Psalm and Proverbs, Ecclesiastes chapter 4. Okay, now there's this guy Solomon who was very wise. All right, Solomon was extremely wise, like so wise that people came up to him all the time asking for his advice. And Solomon had this way of just knowing what was going on and what kind of advice and how to sort of talk to people about it. Well, this whole like measuring up thing, this whole comparison thing, this whole like achieving success better than other people type of thing, it hasn't just started happening in the last few years. This has been going on for centuries. All right, people have been struggling this all the way back to biblical times, centuries and centuries ago. It's the reason why the Bible is so applicable to our lives, because so much of it still happens today. And so as Solomon saw this happening with other people, where everybody's comparing themselves to someone else, he said this in chapter 4, verse 4. He says, "Then I observed that most people are motivated to success because they envy their neighbors." Okay? What he's saying here is that our motivation to get better is not just to be better for better sake. Right? We want to get better because we want to beat someone else. Right? Because if we're getting better, that means that we're elevating ourselves and someone else is going down. And typically our motivation is because we see someone else up and we envy them and they're better at that than we are. And so we want to be better than them. You see, our motivation for success is to beat other people, right? It's we're measuring up and comparing ourselves to other people. Okay, and so he continues in verse 4. He says, "But this too is meaningless." This comparison thing is meaningless. It's like chasing the wind. He's saying, listen, it's meaningless to compare ourselves with others over and over and over again. It's like chasing the wind, which hopefully you've never tried to chase the wind because you've looked like a fool, right? Like you go for it and your fingers slip through it. I mean, there's no way to possibly get the wind, right? You can't capture it. You can't achieve it. You can't get there. And that's what he's trying to say. When you are trying to achieve and you're doing it to get better than someone else, and your motivation is because of envy and because of comparison, it's meaningless. It's like chasing the wind. So what are we supposed to do? Are we supposed to just not achieve or not do certain things? Well, not necessarily, because look what he says in verse 5. He says, "Fools fold their idle hands, leading them to ruin." All right, so is this a message about like, you know what, just kind of take a chill pill and don't try to achieve, and success isn't everything, and you know, whatever? This is not a message about that, because he's saying, I also don't want you to just fold your hands and just kind of hang out idly. I don't want you to just not do anything. I don't want you to just give up. All right, because if you do that, then you're going to be ruined. Your life is going to be ruined if you give up in everything in life. So there's got to be some way to work hard, to achieve, to do certain things, but also not give up and also not be so envious comparing ourselves to other people. Well, good news is that he talks about this, because he continues in verse 6 where he says, "And yet better to have one handful with quietness than 2 handfuls with hard work and chasing the wind. All right, here's what he means by this. If you were, playing basketball, for me, there were times that I just wanted to play basketball. I wanted to do everything possible, so I had both hands full with this, right? But what he's saying is instead of gritting down and working so hard to do everything that you possibly can to win and everything like that, he's saying, listen, what if you opened up one hand to God? Right? You had a hand open, like you're still working hard, you're still stewarding what God has given you, but you're opening up a hand to God, you're getting a little bit quiet, and you're saying to yourself, God, what do you want? God, how do you want me to achieve? What are some things that you want me to do in my life? Okay, instead of tightening your fingers around every little thing that there is, right? Because here's the truth. It won't matter how much you already have or how much you gain in the future. Okay? It won't matter how many touchdowns you score or how many baskets you make in basketball. All right, it won't matter how good your grades are. It won't matter how many friends you have or how popular you are, because as long as your mind is concerned with measuring up to everyone around you, you're never going to be satisfied. In fact, Solomon said that you're going to be downright miserable when this happens. And many of you have experienced this. You've experienced what it's like to try to run after something and run after something and run after something. And maybe you even get it. And once you get it, you realize, oh man, I'm at the top and it's not working out for me. We see this with like celebrities and athletes and things like that, where they do everything they can. They become the best at whatever, and it's still not good enough. It doesn't matter who you are, it's not good enough. It's like you achieve certain things and it feels empty. Because when you're comparing yourself to other people, when the motivation is putting other people down, it's not right with God. And so what is right with God? Well, that's difficult for us to understand sometimes, which is why we have to ask him. We have to open our hand up and say, okay, help me, God, know what to do. Okay, this is not a message about don't work hard, because I want you to work hard. Right? I want you to achieve great things. But I don't want you to do it just because you're comparing yourself to other people. I want you to have a humble hand open to him. In fact, I mentioned before that I was playing basketball, and when I was 13, everything was good. And then all of a sudden, I turned 14. And whenever I turned 14 is when I was in 8th grade, of course, and I tried out for the 8th grade basketball team. And when I tried out for the 8th grade basketball team, I didn't make the team. This wasn't like I wasn't a starter. Okay, it was that I didn't even make the team. And y'all, I was crushed. I was like, man, I've been working really hard at this basketball thing, and I didn't make it. Like, what's going on? And so I had a hard time, and so what I decided to do is well, there's only 2 ways to fix this, right? You either give up or you just work extremely hard and you grip down and you just kind of force your way into it. So I decided that's what I was going to do. I was just going to kind of force my way and try to make it happen. And y'all, it kind of worked a little bit. You'll notice that about hard work. Hard work does pay off at times. But unfortunately, a lot of times it's only temporary, especially when you're comparing yourself with other people, right? So the temporary success was that in 9th grade, I made the basketball team again. It was all good. And everything was great. And then I remember thinking, okay, it's not good enough for me to just make the basketball team. Now I need to be the best on the team. And I made the basketball team again in 10th grade, but I wasn't the best on the team. And it was just exhausting. Felt like I was putting in all this work for nothing. So finally, when I was in 11th grade, is when I said, okay, God, just help me. I finally gave up. I finally stopped trying to achieve everything just for my own self, and I finally asked for his help. I opened up my hand. I said, God, please help me. Show me what you want in my life. God, I don't want to just achieve what the world wants me to achieve. I want to achieve what you want me to achieve. I don't want to achieve it so that other people are put down, but I want to achieve it, God, so that you are lifted up, not me. And in my 11th grade year, God moved in my life. He taught me about his son. I recognized that his son Jesus was this guy that died on the cross for my sins. And I dedicated my life to him, and my life has been different ever since. All because I finally got to a place where I humbled myself and held my hand up and said, God, please help me. You see, in South Denver, Highlands Ranch, wherever it is that you live, there's something about our culture here that's like super high achieving, success driven culture. I've talked to some of you. Many of you are already thinking about what club or sport or achievement you need to have so that you can build your college resume, right? So you can get into the school that you want to get into, so that you can then get the job that you want to get to. And part of the motivation for this is because you want to be better than other people. You want other people to think that you are amazing. Well, what if instead of worrying about how you're going to look, you worried about how he's going to look? You said, okay, God, what do you want? How can I make you look better? God, how can I help you? And I'm telling you, it's going to give you a sense of peace. And he's going to help you through obstacles that you can't overcome. You know, I talked to a girl last night, and a girl came up to me after the message, and she said, you know, Matt, you know what I struggle with the most? I struggle with happiness, she said. She said, I keep trying to reach happiness. I keep trying to get to a happy place, and I'm just having a hard time doing it. And I said, well, I don't know your story, but I can guess what's probably happening. You're probably looking to achieve happiness yourself. You're probably trying to make it happen yourself. You're like, if I can just be with that girl, or if I can just be these friends with these people, if I can just have this thing that other people have, then I'll be happy. And as you're getting to those places, those mile markers, you realize that it's making you miserable. You're not achieving what you want to achieve. What if you opened up your hand and you gave God an opportunity to help you with your happiness? That's a game changer. It's not hands folded and giving up. It's not working hard until we just white knuckle it to death. It's opening our hand and saying, God, please help me. So that's what I want us to do right now. I have some questions for you. Are you exhausted from trying to keep up with blank? Right? Are you exhausted from trying to keep up with blank? You fill in the blank. Whatever it is that you're exhausted from trying to keep up with. You're comparing your life to other people, and God can't even give it to you. He can't even give you what he wants to give you. So let's do this. I want everybody in this room right now, I want you to open up one hand. You can open up another hand if you want. You can open up both if you want, but I want you to open up one hand, and I want you to close your eyes and bow your heads, because we're going to ask God for help. As you close your eyes and bow your heads, I want you to tell God what that blank is, what that fill in the blank is. Tell him what's going on. Take a minute right now and do that. Father, all across this room, we have been trying to achieve certain things on our own. But God, we want you to help us. Show us what doesn't just give us the glory, but what gives you the glory. God, pour out your Spirit. Pour out your Spirit on us. Help us to stay away from comparing, and let us take in your Spirit.
You raise us up from the ground. You made a way. Thank you now. You play your dream. In our hearts, you make us pray. You set us apart like a tide rushing in, like the out your spirit again. You make us new. Breathe in your life. All honor is yours, Jesus Christ. Oh, like a tide rushing in, like the sun's radiance, like new wine in new wineskin. Pour out your spirit again. We just invite you this morning to pour out your spirit. As we just open ourselves before you. Just like Matt said, open your palms up and just receive his spirit, receive his strength as we sing this next line. We will move with the cloud, we will follow the fire. We are taking new ground. Pour out your spirit now. We will move with the cloud, we will follow the fire. We are taking new ground. Pour out your spirit now. We will move with the cloud, we will follow the fire. We are taking new ground. Pour out your spirit now. We will move with the clouds, we will follow the fire. We are taking new ground. Pour out your spirit now. Pour out your spirit now. Pour out your spirit now. Pour out your spirit like the sun's radiance, like new wineskins. Oh God, pour out your spirit again.
During that time Matt was talking, I could not get this quote out of my brain. And it says, to compare ourselves is the thief of joy. When we compare ourselves to others, it's the thief of joy. And that made me reminded of John 10:10, that Jesus said, I have come to give them life, and life to the full. But the enemy, the thief, has come to kill, steal, and destroy. That's one of the main tactics of the enemy. He wants to steal your joy away by comparing yourselves to others. And for me, when I was in middle school and high school, and sometimes still, it's just wanting to be respected. It's all about my image. It's all about me. I want to be better than everybody else, so I feel better about myself. And when I'm able to release that and then receive from God, that's where true freedom comes. And when I was sitting in the back too, it made me think about what is the one thing that all of us probably have our hands on, both of them, all the time, every day. It's our phones. We are on our phones with two hands almost all of the day. What would it look like if you and I just put our phone down, or even, as Matt was saying, have one hand open to God and one hand on our phone? This happened to me this week where it was on Saturday, just yesterday. I was like, all right, God, I'm on my phone too much. I give it. And he's like, why don't you call your friend? Why don't you use this as a way to actually extend my care and my love to other people? And I called my friend who was on my heart, and he's like, Greg, you have no idea. I was just praying and feeling so alone. I'm like, wow, it's incredible. So I would encourage you to, again, what are those things in your life that you're clinging to that is bringing other level of exhaustion? And that you can lean into that one verse from John 10, I've come to give them life and life to the full. Matt's going to be up here in the front for anyone who desires or wants prayer. Girls, you're going to stay in here. Guys are going to go across the hall. We love you. See you soon.